The world can function without justice for a long time. It can trade, fight, marry, and survive. But when meaning disappears, something eventually answers, well. Welcome to another story in the Brief Universal History of Civilizations series. Today, I'll tell you about the birth of Islam, from about 610 to 750, and about a world that works perfectly well without a moral center until it suddenly cannot. This is Arabia before the call. A landscape of roots and tribes, debts and honor, gods and contracts. Order exists, but it is local. Responsibility is short. Power protects itself. The strong endure. The weak adapt or vanish. No single rule watches everyone. No voice speaks to all. Islam does not begin as conquest. It begins as interruption. A claim that someone sees, that every act counts. That belief is no longer private, and morality no longer negotiable. This episode is about what happens when a fragmented world is confronted by a single, uncompromising moral address. The street is already loud, even though the call to prayer has not yet entered the air. In Mecca, around 610, a boy named Salim sits in the shade by a wall, away from the thickest part of the market. The stones feel warm under his hands. He watches an older man's mouth as he speaks, then repeats the sounds back slowly, careful not to change a single syllable, you know. Salim does not yet know what the verses mean. He learns them the way children learn rules, by copying, by repetition, by the fear of getting it wrong. When he slips, the correction comes at once. He starts again. The words are short, clear, firm. They do not praise a clan. They do not flatter a leader. They do not bargain. Around them, life looks ordinary. People pass with baskets and ropes. A price is argued. A camel groans. In Salim's world, wrongs are settled through family, payment, or revenge. If your people protect you, you are safe. If they do not, you are exposed. He has grown up inside that logic. Now something else enters his memory. The verses speak as if there is one standard for everyone, not a local rule, not a temporary deal, not a compromise between clans. A single voice claims authority over all others. Salim feels it before he understands it. Behavior matters even when no one from your family is watching. The view pulls back. Around 610, Muhammad begins to report revelations in Mecca. In a tribal world without a central state, spoken words travel fast. The claim is simple and disruptive. Moral responsibility is owed to one God, not to kin or custom. As the heat eases and the light drops, Salim repeats the lines once more. Far beyond Arabia, empires still run on law, tax, and hierarchy. Here, change begins without armies or officials. It begins in a child's memory and in the quiet fear that someone, finally, is listening. The boy sits close to the wall, where the ground stays cooler and the noise from the street softens. Year 610 in Mecca. His name is Salim. An older man stands before him and speaks slowly. Salim repeats each line exactly as he hears it, careful with every sound, afraid to change even one, you know. He does not ask what the words mean. That is not required yet. What matters is precision. The verses are short and firm. They do not praise ancestors. They do not threaten enemies. They sound like statements. Someone speaks, someone listens. That is how Salim understands them. Around them, ordinary life continues. People argue over prices, Animals pass through the street. The heat presses down, dry and constant. Nothing pauses for this lesson. And yet, Salim senses that these words do not belong only here. They do not depend on who his father is or which clan stands behind him. He repeats the lines again. For the first time, he hears that actions are counted even when no one from his family is present. The idea unsettles him. In his world, behavior matters because others may respond. Here, behavior matters because it is seen. The difference is small in language, but heavy in meaning. The view pulls back. Around 610, Muhammad reports receiving revelation in Mecca. In a society shaped by oral memory and tribal balance, a single moral authority enters the world. Responsibility shifts away from managing honor within the clan and toward judgment before one God. As the lesson ends, Salim stays silent. Beyond Arabia, empires depend on law, force, and officials. Here, change arrives through voice and memory. The world looks the same, but it is no longer unwatched. Dust gathers at the threshold as Hassan pulls the wooden door shut. The sound is dull and final. It is around 622, and the morning air in Mecca is already warm, dry, and tense. He does not look back for long. Looking back invites hesitation, and hesitation is dangerous now, you see. Inside, his wife ties a cloth bundle with steady hands. Their children wait in silence, watching faces rather than words. Hassan knows the price of this step. By leaving, he walks beyond the protection of his clan. No elder will speak for him. No cousin will answer violence with violence on his behalf. In Mecca, that choice borders on madness. Pressure has been building for months. Trade still moves, but trust does not. Powerful families close ranks. Debts tighten. Greetings turn cold. What once sounded like a private belief now carries public consequences. Hassan has lost customers. Friends cross the street to avoid him. Faith has stopped being invisible. The road north to Yathrib, soon to be called Medina, stretches under a pale sky. The group moves early to escape the worst heat. Hassan walks with other families, people from different clans, some he barely knows. That is the strange part. They share no blood and no ancestors. What they share is obligation. Along the way, he listens more than he speaks. Disputes are settled without asking who belongs where. Food is shared by need, not rank. It feels fragile and unfinished, but also deliberate. Something new is being practiced as they walk, I mean. The view pulls back. In 622, the Hijra turns belief into structure. A movement becomes a community. Faith replaces lineage as the rule of belonging, and the Ummah is born. As the sun lowers, Hassan understands what he has gained. The old order offered safety through exclusion. The new one offers meaning through commitment. Beyond Arabia, empires still rely on law, force, and inheritance. Here, a community begins by choice and holds together because it believes. The argument breaks out just after noon, when the heat makes everyone short-tempered. It is around 6:30 in Medina. Umar, one of the older men of the community, sits on a low stool in the shade of a wall. Two neighbors stand before him, tense and silent now, waiting, you know. Umar does not ask which clan they belong to. A few years earlier, that would have been the first question. Today, it does not matter. He asks what happened, who was harmed, what was taken, what was promised. His voice stays calm, But those watching feel the shift. This way of judging is still new. One man expects support because his family is strong. The other expects defeat because his is not. Both are wrong. Umar listens, then pauses. He weighs their words against rules everyone has heard, but not everyone has accepted. These rules are spoken in prayer and teaching. They claim authority beyond blood. Around them, life continues. Children carry water, animals kick dust into the air. The community has grown larger and more mixed. Belief alone is no longer enough. Disputes multiply, promises fail. Without decisions, trust begins to fracture. Order now needs form. Umar gives his judgment. It pleases neither side, but it is clear. Compensation is set. Responsibility is named. No threats follow. No relatives are summoned. The matter ends because it is declared ended, The view pulls back. In the late 620s, as Muhammad leads the community in Medina, belief becomes law in practice. He judges, arbitrates, and binds. Faith, authority, and regulation merge, creating a state without officers, but with rules that hold. As the shadows lengthen, Umar feels the weight of the change. Elsewhere, empires rely on courts and officials. Here, order rests on shared belief, enforced through judgment. It works, but it demands obedience not to family, but to a rule that claims to be just.
The room is quiet.
Almost unnaturally so for a place where decisions are made. It is 632, and the air in Medina feels dry and tense, even in the early morning. Abu Bakr sits with his hands resting on his knees, listening more than speaking. Outside, voices argue in low tones. Inside, no one pretends this is simple, Everyone understands what has ended. Revelation has stopped. No new words will arrive to settle disputes. No voice will cut through doubt. Abu Bakr feels the absence as pressure, not relief. He must decide, but he cannot claim to speak for God. He can only claim to act in his name. Questions come quickly. Who leads prayer? Who commands armies? Who decides punishment? Each answer risks fracture. Some expect leadership through closeness to the Prophet. Others argue for strength and experience. Old tribal instincts wait just beneath the surface, ready to return if space opens. As the day advances, the heat rises. Messengers arrive from the edges of Arabia. Some groups hesitate, others refuse obedience. Expansion has begun, but unity is thin. Abu Bakr knows delay is dangerous. Acting without revelation feels dangerous too. The silence where guidance once lived now demands choice. He chooses firmness, not because he is certain, but because uncertainty spreads faster than orders. Decisions are announced clearly. Loyalty is demanded to the community, not to blood or ambition. The language of faith remains, but the source of authority has shifted, The view pulls back. After the Prophet's death in 632, the early caliphate faces a crisis of legitimacy. With no clear succession and no further revelation, authority is anchored in memory and precedent. Moral certainty is preserved, but its source is no longer living. As evening cools the air, Abu Bakr remains seated. Beyond Arabia, empires rule through institutions and force. Here, power rests on consensus, memory, and risk. The state survives, but tension enters its core. From now on, every decision carries the shadow of division. The march ends at the city gates under a flat, grey sky. It is around 640, and a cool wind carries dust along the road. Khalid, a soldier of the Caliphate, tightens the strap of his shield as the gates open. He expects shouting, he expects fire. Instead, there is silence and careful watching, you see. Inside, life continues. Officials wait near the square. A priest stands with members of the local council. Khalid notices tablets, seals, records. This city already has law, tax, and order. No one tells him to tear them down. No one asks him to replace their god. His task is simpler and heavier. He is here to add a rule, not erase a world. The terms are spoken plainly. Property is counted, payments are set, worship may continue. Administration stays in local hands. Above it all stands a new authority. Khalid listens and learns the pattern. Obedience is required. Conversion is not. Loyalty matters more than belief. The order is clear enough to travel. The air smells of damp stone and smoke from morning fires. The city feels tired rather than defeated. News travels fast. Byzantium is weak here. Persia no longer commands obedience. Old empires still exist on paper, but not in force. Khalid understands why this works. The system he serves moves lightly. It does not destroy what already functions, I mean. The view pulls back. In the middle of the 7th century, Islamic expansion moves beyond Arabia with speed and discipline. Military success combines with a governing model that preserves local structures while imposing a clear moral and political hierarchy. Rule advances without mass conversion, creating a portable state. By evening, Khalid stands guard near the gate. The city sleeps under familiar laws, now framed by a new order. Elsewhere, empires rule through distance and heavy administration. Here, authority travels with men, words, and rules that fit wherever they land. The machine keeps moving.
Civilizations usually grow by adding layers.
Islam grows by simplifying them. One God, one law, one community. Everything else becomes secondary, What is gained here is clarity, a moral center that does not belong to a city, a dynasty, or a class. Authority no longer depends on ancestry or place. It travels, it binds, it judges. Islam turns belief into structure and structure into motion. A world of tribes becomes a world of rule without borders. What is lost is ambiguity, the space for local compromise, inherited custom, quiet inconsistency. The same certainty that unites can also divide. Once revelation becomes law, disagreement becomes disobedience. Unity carries its own tension, and here is the thought to carry forward. Islam succeeds not because it conquers lands, but because it solves a problem other civilizations no longer can. How to rule without a center and still mean something. In the next episode, the machine slows, expansion ends, memory hardens, authority fragments. We move from birth to inheritance. Next time, we follow the Islamic Golden Age and its fractures, and watch how a civilization built on revelation learns to live with history. What you just saw is a single moment. But the history of civilization isn't made up of isolated moments. It's patterns of different mentalities. It begins with a campfire, Someone sits down, someone else listens, and for the first time, experience becomes memory. This scene is an opening, and everything flows from it. From the first campfire to the last city burning on a phone screen. The YouTube series is drawn from a book that sketches a mental map of humanity, how people thought, believed, and made sense of the world across 5,000 years and 50 chapters. Told not through rulers and dates, but through the lives of people who carried civilizations forward without even realizing it. The book, The Brief Universal History of Civilizations, goes beyond the YouTube series with over 50 maps, available on Amazon. Link in the description.